let's begin by asking a critical question. Creating jobs was one of those hopes that President Buhari raised when he was asking Nigerians to vote for him. And I've listed a few of those promises on what he said he wanted to do. 720,000 jobs by the 36 states in the Federation per annum, 3 million jobs per year, 740,000 graduates empowerment scheme. These are some of the jobs that have been promised by President Buhari. Let's begin by a self-assessment. Do you think the president has delivered on those promises?
Well, let me talk about job creation and then correct an impression that people have about job creation. The major thing, trust of this administration in creating jobs is not about creating opportunities for people to be employed in the public service. Maybe people are fixated on that someday somebody will call them and give them an employment letter with terms and conditions and say you should resume in March. The basic trust of this administration in the policy trust in creating jobs is to ensure that they skill up the population, the different strata of the populace, skill them up so that they can be self-employed in such a way that they can also employ, others too, into their small businesses. And by this, I mean the macro, the small, and of course, the medium-scale entrepreneurs. That, of course, is the focus of this administration. But then coming to the extended public works, let me explain it thoroughly for people to understand.
So, sorry,
there are different strata of society.
Honorable Minister, before we get to the public works, let's take a step backwards, because this is the latest in the promise of jobs for Nigerians. But a lot of people will look back and say, we had several promises. In 2015, we were promised jobs. In 2019, we were promised jobs. And presently, unemployment rate is 23.1%. Underemployment is 16.6%. Things have not gotten better. More jobs are not being created as is being promised. So the question is that, has the president performed on his promise?
Absolutely. If you take all the indices into consideration, I think this present regime administration has outperformed what the projections should have been. Because you see, it's not that jobs are not being created. It's just that the populace is growing far more than the jobs are being created. And this is an age-long problem that we always had in this country. So there are so many platforms by which this administration is creating jobs. The SMSs are there. Empower is there, the trader money is there, small loans to businesses are there, they give small loans to different businesses at different levels, they are there. The National Director of Employment, over which I superintend as minister, we have so many programs under the National Director of Employment by which we are skilling up the populace. So there are different platforms by which we are skilling up the populace for them to be self-employed. But then, of course, you know that this problem of population explosion vis-a-vis the type of jobs we are creating and the pace at which we are creating the jobs is an age-long problem. But we're going to catch up with that little by little. It takes time to fix some of these things.
So, Honorable Minister,
the extended public works we are going into now is one of those schemes by which we intend to reduce poverty and to touch the very bottom of the economy.
All right.